I promised you that I was going to look at irresponsible and unacceptable spending by this government or past governments on this channel, because we're here on my money channel, so please do subscribe here. But when I started looking at it, I didn't realize just how appalling this might be. You will be horrified at what I'm about to tell you. So please do subscribe. But there is also a bit of a lesson to learn, a bit of wisdom off the back of this in the second half of the video. So please do stick around. So let's get into it. So we're talking about police force funding here and where it is woefully inadequate. Now, I think we can all agree, I think we should all agree that the police funding is not what it used to be. It's not sufficient. It hasn't kept up with demand, and we really do need to support the police force. Now, let's take a look at this. This is going back to February this year. BBC reported that the Met Police were to cut its workforce despite having an increase in funding. They say that it still faces, and this will be important later, it still faces a £260 million budget shortfall for the next year and will therefore have to reduce its workforce despite having further funding increases. The government recently promised an additional £118 million on top of the funding announced, whilst the mayor pledged a further £10 million. So all, very well, you might think. The Met said it's grateful for the extra funds, but will still have to make substantial tough choices over the next year, including the reduction in officers and services. And that includes, of course, closing police stations where people can go up to a station and report something or request help. And obviously fewer officers on the streets and available to respond to urgent situations. They say cuts will be hard. Home Office said that it expected the Met to use the money to protect frontline policing. So prioritise your funding, they say, and use it for frontline and not other things, which might obviously include background investigations, fraud investigations, police stations, or other things that they could otherwise use the money on. They say the increase includes a newly announced payment from central government of £50 million and £22 million from government to pay for neighbourhood officers, etc., but still leaves a shortfall of £260 million. So this was in February. It was quite clear. This followed the warning from the Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, who said the force might need to shed as many as 2,300 of its only 33,000 officers and 400 of its staff. So this was a significant warning. And as this is a money channel to help you make and to save more money, grab yourself £50 by switching to Octopus. This is not a sponsored video, but you'll get £50 just by switching to Octopus, which is a fantastic energy company. We use their EV tariff, so it's super cheap to charge the car. And they have lots of perks like free hours every now and again. So over the weekend, we had 2 sessions of a 1-hour session and 2-hour session of free electricity. So we had everything on all for free during those sessions. It's fantastic. And you get £50 whilst you're over there to do so. And if you want to know how much energy your appliances are using, grab yourself one of these devices from Amazon and I'll link that below and you'll know exactly what power your devices are using. But it didn't end there. Then we have this in June. Police must do their bit on funding, according to Peter Kyle, Science and Technology Secretary, telling the BBC, saying that the police must do their bit to embrace change as the Home Office and the Treasury continue negotiations over the spending review. They are facing pressures from all sectors, including doctors and universities, to increase funding. Everything needs a bit more money because, you guessed it, inflation, because inflation makes things more expensive. And it would seem to escape some in government that when things get more expensive, they need more funding just to stay where they are, which is the first little bit of a tip and trick that you can have here. If you are saving money in the bank, it is losing value to inflation, because whatever the percentage of inflation is, that is the percentage that your money is going down by, because inflation makes things more expensive. It cannot buy the same things after the increase in inflation that it can now. So when we have a spending like this, whatever it's costing right now will cost more in future to achieve the same result. So if we have a situation where it needs more done, but has less money to do it with, and inflation has made everything more expensive, it is a triple whammy. More needs doing with less money, which is worth less than it was before. Nonetheless, the police are told, do your bit with spending. Let's get through this. Chris Philp, Shadow Home Secretary, said he was concerned about police numbers being cut, urged the government to protect the budget. Rachel Reeves' will set out in June. It said how much money the government's going to spend for the next 3 or 4 years. BBC was told then, ministers that don't believe that there's enough money to recruit the additional police officers that Labour promised in the manifesto. When asked about police funding, Kyle said the government had already provided an additional £1 billion to police. We are delivering the investment in the police, he said. We expect the police to start embracing the change they need to do their bit for change as well. So that's their way of saying, we've given you some money, you need to do your bit to adopt to this change. So do more with less is essentially what they're saying. And that boils down to the officers should be paid less, maybe, which doesn't work out because that's certainly not supporting working people, as Keir Starmer keeps banging on about. But doing more with less means you get paid less, means you are worth less. Now, why do I say that this video is about irresponsible spending? And, well, you might think it's irresponsible and you might be alarmed by what I'm about to tell you. Bearing all that in mind, that is just the background of the cuts to the police force and so on. Now, as you'll know, I've looked at various government contracts and spending and where the government is sending money, both this government and the previous government, because some of these started their life under Conservatives and have been finished off under Labour. Some were spearheaded by Labour entirely. Let's take a look at this one, because on the government website, it does, under the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, for one, tell you where they're spending money internationally. Now, many people have criticised the spending of government money and ultimately taxpayer money internationally because it is not benefiting our country. And I don't think it should be controversial to say that, because it's a little bit like the oxygen mask scenario. If you don't secure your own first, how can you be of any help to anybody else? If you don't protect your own people first, how can you be of any help to anybody else? So the big reveal in just a moment, but before that, something that's going to genuinely help you to protect you with this inevitable digital ID, your data out there in the world, back in a moment. Now, just before the rest of the video, I'd like to tell you about some professional instructions I've had as a barrister over the last couple of years. A number of people have come to me to assist in removing search engine results or removing their name and other details from websites where they may have signed up, or they may have left them on some website somewhere and they're struggling to get them removed because the companies just don't cooperate. So I've advised them in the process, the legal processes of removing that data, removing search engine results and things of this nature, because there might be things in their past they don't want to pop up anymore and they want to get them removed. And that is a laborious and difficult process. And it's cost them, I don't mind saying, hundreds of pounds in advice to know how to do that. But now I can offer you a much better and cheaper way of doing this with a partner to my channel called Incogni, who specialize in precisely this, removing your data from websites and thus helping you to disappear from the internet. If you have old information or even current information that you just don't want to be on websites anymore and you don't want it turning up in search engines anymore, or you just don't want the company to have you on their database anymore, but they keep sending you spam or other emails and you want them to remove it. But it's a long, laborious task, and there are hundreds of companies that could have it by now, especially when data brokers and marketers have sold it on again and again. This can help you to remove all of that, all by way of an automated process. Incogni will use UK and US law to insist and require that they remove your information from their systems. And of course, as a partner to my channel, you get a great discount, which is 60% off the annual plan using the code Daniel Shensmith, which I'll put in the description below, along with the link. And so if you want help in disappearing from the internet, removing your information from all these websites, check out Incogni today. Okay, so back to the big reveal. What is it that I think you'll find so alarming and disgraceful for this video? Well, bearing in mind everything I said about police being underfunded and told do your bit by the government, i.e. do more with less, I presume that means, let's take a look at this contract here on the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. This is a provision of services contract, which was farmed out by government, and this is called the Lebanon Internal Security Assistance Program. In English, that means the government set up a contract to send money to assist the internal policing in Lebanon. I'll come to the details in a moment because that's in here as well. But you've probably gleaned here that the value of the contract was somewhere between 20 and 50 million pounds, bearing in mind we have a 260 million pound shortfall in the Met Police alone. This was the broad spectrum for this contract. Now, the ultimate amount that was awarded is down here. I kid you not, £46.3 million is being sent or agreed to be sent to assist the policing objectives in Lebanon. The description here. The objectives of the project to enhance the operational capability of the Lebanese internal security forces, the police, to better deliver effective national policing services, including a response to internal security threats and opportunities, to improve interagency coordination with Lebanese armed forces for crisis planning and crisis management, including public order operations, and to strengthen accountability and human rights performance within the Lebanon internal security forces, including gender sensitivity policing. So we are sending £46 million to support Lebanese policing, which includes gender-sensitive policing. Now, I confess, I don't know precisely what that's supposed to mean, but I can make an educated guess as to what at least I hope that it means, notwithstanding that this is in another country and, strictly speaking, not really something that we should have to be spending money on when we can't take care of our own police forces, but that's beside the point. What I hope that it means is that policing needs to be sensitive in accordance with gender, in that certain things can disproportionately affect women, for example. So this should make it easier and better for women to report crimes that disproportionately affect women properly without stigma or intimidation, and allow them to overcome certain crimes that disproportionately affect women. Training officers to avoid bias, harassment, or discriminatory behavior, things of that nature. That's all I can really think that it should mean. But nonetheless, it is still a contract to the tune of £46 million. And this is just one contract that I happened to find when I was looking at police spending, because these articles caught my attention. Now, what is the sort of word of wisdom for this video? And why is it on my money channel, and why is it useful? Well, I think that it's useful because if you are planning for your own personal finances, you really need to take care of yourself first. And that starts at home, and it expands to your business, your friends, and anybody else, because there's a few things at play here. If you don't take care of yourself, you are not in the best position to take care of anybody else. So I do know, because I've had lots of conversations with people that frequently and regularly spend on other people all sorts of things because they're nice people. So they want to buy other people the things that they want, whether that's friends or whether it's family and relatives, etc. They want to spend money on those people because they think that it's the right thing to do. Likewise, children, they buy things for their children that they think they want. Now, there's a funny saying in our household, want versus need, because our son, when he was very small, sort of got the idea that if it was something that he needed, not just wanted, we were more likely to buy it. So he would say, not want, but need. It said it's something that he needed. And it's a very valuable lesson, because if it's something you need, that's one thing. But if it's just something that you want, then it should go on a list of things that you should only really buy when you have taken care of all of the spending needs that you have. But that goes for every child, it goes for every family member, it goes for friends that you might have, and it goes for business as well. There's a concept of bootstrapping, and that is spending as little as possible to achieve the desired result, but whilst being very careful about what you spend. And it's all relative. So whether it's £5 to one person or £500 million to another company. Like I remember Elon Musk saying that he was down to his last $100 million, which everything is relative. But when you're running companies of that magnitude, $100 million doesn't necessarily go very far. So it's all relative. But it really comes down to this idea of want versus need and bootstrapping and taking care of yourself first. And that means learning to say no sometimes. And so this starts at home, because if you have a child that wants the latest technology, the latest games and everything else, but they don't need it, and unless you are absolutely in a position to pay for those things without any detriment to the rest of your personal finances, which includes paying off debts, and it includes not being a slave to car finance companies, consumer finance companies, loan companies, credit card companies, and even your mortgage provider. If you've sorted all of those things out and you are debt-free, that's another thing. But if you still have to budget all of those things, be very careful about this spending and spend it on what you need first. And that's what really struck me with these contracts, because the police are saying that they need, the Met Police alone saying that they have a shortfall of £260 million, despite the millions of people that live in London that would benefit from better policing. They say they have a shortfall of £260 million. Well, this £46 million that's been sent to, or is to be sent to Lebanon, could have been spent here, because whilst I get, and I don't want anybody to take this to mean that it isn't a valid cause, whatever the cause is, whether it's this security bolstering with the money that they're sending to Lebanon to assist in that. And if it is the gender sensitive policing thing, yes, it's a very valid cause, but it's not our cause. I'm sure that there are an equal number of valid causes for the increase in policing here. And thus, we are not taking care of ourselves first if we are sending this money abroad. Just like the billions of pounds that it works out to that we send out in foreign aid, at the same time as complaining that we are billions of pounds short in what we need to do here. This doesn't make logical sense to me, any more than it would be you struggling to, it's the equivalent of you struggling to get to and from work using public transport whilst buying your friend a car. It just doesn't make sense. And so the personal finance element here, because everyone will do it, and I challenge you to go through your personal finances, and you will find things where you've either done this before, you're doing it now, you are spending money on things and people that either don't need it, don't deserve it, or even if they do need it or deserve it, you need it or deserve it first. And so this really needs to start at home, and it needs to start with what you absolutely need. And for that, I will remind you again, there is a free spreadsheet, household budgeting spreadsheet on my website, blackbeltbarrister.com. You sign up there. You don't have to pay to sign up, and you don't have to pay for the spreadsheet. It's on the download section. In fact, I will find it for you. So I will show you where it is. And once you are logged in, you can download that spreadsheet for free. So if I show you the website here, so once you're on the website here, firstly, there is the member content, which you do pay for. That is what you can pay for on my website. But also on the free resources section up here in the menu, you will find downloads here. At the moment, there's just these two here, the household budget spreadsheet, and this is a judgment on free speech. So I'm planning to build this out. I actually have someone very kindly offering to revamp my website a little bit. And so you'll be able to download all those resources there. So I'll link this below and you can pop along and download that. But please use that household budget. Be absolutely brutal. Put everything in there, everything that you spend, everything that comes in, everything that goes out, and then cut out everything that you don't need to spend. That is the absolute minimum first thing you need to do if you want to develop and build your personal finances. This channel is not about the get-rich-quick scheme type things. I'm not going to hype it. I'm no guru. I'm not going to show you a Lamborghini because I don't have one. But this is a case of, this is real tangible stuff that you can absolutely do. So I hope you find that useful. And I hope the shock factor of the funding for the police is enough to make you do this for yourself. Because I guarantee most people are doing this in some way and to some degree that they can cut out and save money. So I hope that's useful. Please do subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.